and I'm president and CTO of a little company here in Los Angeles called Hyperkinetic Studios. And it is really nice to be here with y'all. Hold on one second. I'm going to plug my power in so I don't lose that in the middle of the talk, okay? Hold on a second. Okay, perfect. Everybody can hear me okay? Perfect. All right, so... All right, so yeah, so we started this company about 2.5 years ago, and the idea is, yeah, okay, I see your text there. Yeah, so we started the company about 2.5 years ago. Three of us, the co-founders, we all worked together back in the day at Treyarch, working on Spider-Man games, and the first game we all did together was a game called Spider-Man 2, which was a whole lot of fun to work on, and I think we learned a lot of fantastic lessons from having gone through that experience. And we worked there for many years, and then we all kind of went our separate ways, working at different places. I went and worked on some Incredible Hulk games. Worked on and I went to work at Sony Pictures when I came back to Los Angeles, and then I met a bunch of people over there. We kind of formed our own little game studio within Sony Pictures. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot of lessons about making a little studio, and decided to take what I learned and go in indie with some of my good friends. So that's where we started out, and kind of the idea for the studio was that we were going to be doing client work to allow us to make the money we needed to be able to make our own game. So we had a whole bunch of game ideas, and I'm just a person. I like to come up with ideas, but I also back it up by being able to actually develop and make those ideas. So one of those ideas was eventually turned into the game we're working on now, which is called Epic Tavern. So the original idea for the game was that I wanted something to be able to play. Like a lot of you guys, you probably work really hard, probably don't have a whole lot of time to play games. I'm like, man, it would be really nice to have a game that I could pop open, and I could interact with it. Definitely interact with it, but to be able to read the stories of, like, let's say, a group of adventurers, and be able to help them out in little ways, but mostly see all the things that they go through, see the things that they do, and see their stories and how they develop over time, see recurring villains, these types of things. And so that idea eventually developed into what we have now, with Epic Tavern. And so the game itself is basically you run a tavern in a fantasy world, and you invite adventurers come into your tavern. You make friends with them, get them drunk, and then find out about quests and adventures and send them out on the adventures. And we kind of developed into that because if any of you have ever played, like, D&D or any other kind of like tabletop role playing game set in a fantasy world, inevitably you're going to end up at the tavern. So we thought it'd be a lot of fun to explore what it would actually be like in that tavern day after day, from the tavern's point of view. Uh, and we like to focus on doing stuff like seeing how the adventures develop over time, the friendships that you develop with them or that they develop amongst themselves, and kind of like the impact, the personality changes, the psychology changes that happen when when people are out on these adventures in the world. So we got that idea together. We said, we're not going to try to go to publisher with this. We're going to try to do this completely in house with our own money. Um, and we figured out pretty quickly that it was going to take a little bit more than what we could just put into it through the work that we had done for clients. So we decided to go out and seek additional funding through investors and angel investors that were investing on a project basis. So we raised about $300,000 through that, which was pretty awesome. That's a very difficult amount of money to raise. And then we said that we also wanted to supplement that, and put additional polish on the game through doing Kickstarter. Now, Kickstarter was more for us than just um, Kickstarter was more for us than just uh, a way to raise money. Um, I had a lot of kind of a very experienced people who are very experienced in the game industry, but more done the AAA side, come to me and go, our ask for Kickstarter was 40,000, and they're like, oh my god, are you stupid? Like there is no way you're ever going to be able to make like hardly any type of game on $40,000. I'm like, yeah, well, kind of. I understand where you're coming from, but really, that's not the way the Kickstarter is supposed to work, especially in these days. You know, Kickstarter is down. The amount of money that people earn through Kickstarter is way down from what it used to be. Um, people just the money just isn't there. Like it used to be. Like from last year, I think it's about half or maybe a little bit more than half of what people were able to raise uh, last year is what people are raising right now. So I mean, we're not dumb. So we go into it and we go, all right, we're probably going to make some money off of Kickstarter. Uh, but what's most important is that we kind of use it as a debutante ball, and to come out to the community at large, and to really build and solidify our community, and then use the money that we get to make the game that much better than what it would have been otherwise. So um, the ask was $40,000. We ended up raising about $70,000, so almost 200% of what we had originally gone for. That was really nice. We had a huge flat line when E3 came along, which I think really cut into what we would have otherwise had. And I think we're a little bit shy about going out and trying to get trying to get media attention with the game because we didn't have a demo to put out. And looking back on it, I think we should have just gone anyway. But um, yeah, okay. So let's see. What things that you guys would probably want to know about the Kickstarter as well? It costs a lot of money to do a Kickstarter. I mean, if you're going to do it right, don't think you're just going to waltz into Kickstarter with kind of a half baked idea and even if you've got like a demo for your game or whatever, it's not just like a type of thing you can fire and forget. Um, the conventional wisdom nowadays is that you are going to need at least one person working full time on the Kickstarter the whole time that's going. I would say, our studio is we have about 11-ish people working on the game right now. And I would say that our velocity as a studio decreased by about 50% for the month that we were in the Kickstarter, which is, if you're the type of person who is production minded whatsoever, um, that's notable. That should be a very scary thing for you. Going into the Kickstarter is going to significantly decrease the velocity um, with which you are trending towards the goals that you've set for yourself in terms of development. Now, on the other hand, we figured that if I had known that before we did the Kickstarter, you might ask, would you still have done it? Yeah, absolutely, 100% I would have, because I think that it is the what we got out of it in terms of being able to really solidify a great community around the game, just in terms of the knowledge that we got, I think was just fantastic. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So um, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work. We got a lot of breaks from people. We got a buddy who's just unbelievable, uh, an unbelievable videographer to help us make our video. If you want, definitely go over and check it out on the Kickstarter page. It is again, the name of the game is Epic Tavern, and so just search Epic Tavern Kickstarter. You can see what we did. We did a lot of research. We looked at a lot of very successful campaigns that were kind of in our same league, and we saw what they did. We really analyzed those pages. Um, we worked really hard to make something that we thought would work. We got in touch directly with Kickstarter representative. Her name was Anya Combs. She was extremely helpful. Oh, by the way, the videographer was their studio is called Butcher Bird. And you guys, if you need any of this information later on, just ask me. I can help with that. but they were fantastic, and they did us a favor because they're trying to break into Kickstarter, doing Kickstarter videos and more game videos in general. But they were just a pleasure, just a pure joy to work with. Anya Combs over at Kickstarter was very helpful to us. We were a Kickstarter featured pick for a little while, which I think really helped us. Um, what else do I have to say? Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of attention that's needed going into these things. You definitely should do your research before you head into Kickstarter. Definitely have a somewhat of a community before you head into your Kickstarter as well. Oh, super duper duper important thing. If you're doing a Kickstarter, leave a bunch of time before you launch to uh, soft launch a preview page of your Kickstarter. You can go to everybody you know and get them to come give feedback on your Kickstarter. So what that does is a couple things. Number one, it gets you some great bunch of time. I mean, honestly, whatever you can afford, right? There is. I mean, everybody's situation is different, right? If you have a, yeah. So Skay asked me how much is a bunch of time. Are we talking a day, a week, a month? And honestly, the answer to that is really particular to your situation. For us, we are carrying a team of 11 people. That is not cheap. So we couldn't afford a whole bunch of time. We had to get the Kickstarter launched by a certain point. But we ended up leaving like 3 weeks, I think, for us to gather feedback. And what we did is we did that in two stages. We did our best at what we thought, based on our analysis of all those other pages and our own intelligence and how we wanted to present the game. And we ended up having 3 weeks worth of preview time for people to come for people to come and give us. So about like the first 2 weeks was just on that our initial page, and then the last week was the update for that. So now it should be noted we didn't have everything 100% ready to go. When we originally launched the page, we didn't have the video completely done yet. So the preview, the second stage of the preview did have the video, and that was great because people gave us a lot of feedback, a lot of super useful feedback. So what we did is we took that first, 2-ish weeks, a little bit more than a week and a half, absorbed all that feedback, asked questions of clarification, people gave us feedback, and then we went and implemented, changes to the page based on what we thought was, the feedback based on our valuable feedback based on our analysis of everything that everybody said. Um, and then we basically hit everybody up again and said, hey, we've updated the page based on your feedback. Can you please come and give us more feedback? So that does a couple things, right? Number one, it gets you the feedback, which is just fantastic because there are bound to be things that you've missed or that are just obvious slap your head like, why didn't I do that in the first place? And number two, that gets all those people that you're talking to and engaging, gets them engaged in the page itself. So they are way more likely to donate to your campaign, once and way more likely to talk about your campaign when it finally launches. Um, yeah. How much Jesse? How much time do I have here? Right. So I guess QA as a whole, like, how do you guys feel about pathfinding? Another what? 45 minutes. Awesome. So I mean, like, I don't want this to be a one-way street. I mean, I'm sure all of you have different circumstances. So that's kind of oh, another super duper important thing I think before we head into questions, and I can just talk back and forth with y'all, is that when you're going in to do a Kickstarter, what you need to do at the very 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 beginning of it is go, what's my objective, right? What are you trying to get out of doing the Kickstarter? For us, our primary objective was, as I kind of indicated towards the beginning, our primary objective was to solidify our existing community and build upon that community. And kind of secondary objective was to actually just to run a successful Kickstarter, which gets you a lot of. Nobody likes an empty restaurant, right? People like to know that they're buying into something that other people have kind of given the thumbs up to. Um, so, just us being able to come out of that and go, yeah, we had a Kickstarter. We funded at almost 200% of our original ask. That makes us look awesome, right? It makes us look like we are people who are successful. Probably not like the upper tiers of success, like, oh, we did like 700% of what we asked or whatever, but it's a good solid number to come out with. And another thing that should probably be noted before we kick it into Q&A is that we actually ran our Steam Greenlight campaign at the same time as our Kickstarter because we're a PC game. Um, so that went really well. We actually were able to funnel. I mean, and that kind of funneling works more or less one way, which is people come into your Greenlight page, they look at your game, they like your game, they see that you're running a Kickstarter as well, and then they go over and they support your Kickstarter. It typically does not work the other way around, even though we tried to get it to do that. And we've actually heard the exact same thing from a whole bunch of other developers as well. So yeah, it's if you're going to be doing both, you should do them at the same time. So okay, so anyways, yeah, that's kind of at least a basic background. So Skay has another question, and it is, what are the most common mistakes you see people making in their Kickstarter or in general? Very good question. First one, and the most kind of glaring to me, is that they don't update their user base as much as they should. There is a really glaring correlation to me between people who update every day or every other day and the and success versus people who update maybe once or twice during it. Thank you so much. People who update maybe once or twice during a update once or twice during their campaign and failure, right? So those things, basically, if you update and you keep active and you keep engaged with your community, you're going to be successful, or you have a much better chance of being successful than if you just kind of like I said before, fire and forget your Kickstarter campaign and leave your community alone. I mean, for me, as a person who's an avid Kickstarter backer, I've backed about 130 projects so far. If I see a project that just goes silent after they release, I'm like, oh god, these guys are never going to finish what they're working on, right? Because they're just not engaged. So it's likely a money grab or something like that. So it just looks shady. It looks unprofessional. It looks kind of like you don't know what you're doing. Other mistakes I've seen are, if you don't speak English, if English isn't your first language, or I would say if you're not fluent in written English and absolutely amazingly awesome at written English, have somebody else edit your page and fix your page for you. Because I've seen Kickstarter campaigns that are like, they're totally, graphically, visually, they're perfectly fine. They're checking all the boxes, but their copy is just garbage. And they completely fall flat on their face. So you just got to be really careful that your stuff is good, that you're getting people credit, you know, uh, people that are awesome to check out your page and tell you whether or not it is good or whether or not it needs more work and how exactly they could that's my co-founder talking in the background. We are actually a boots on the ground studio, so he shouldn't be talking for too much longer, so don't worry too much about it. He just smiled at me. So yeah, is there anything you missed because you couldn't hear it, or also another? Okay, cool. Also, another mistake that a lot of people make is that um, their tiers aren't correctly laid out. That they're I think a mistake that we made was our high end goals were kind of out of, they didn't offer quite as much value as they could have for the super high end people. Another mistake I see people make is that when they're done their Kickstarter, they actually don't provide people with opportunities to support. I mean, there's so many times I've come come into a hey guys, can you keep it down? I'm doing a conference. Thanks. Um, that I've come into a really cool looking Kickstarter that I just heard about, after they've funded or whatever, and um, it's done, and there's no way for me to support it. So then they basically lose out on my money. I've actually had to like track some people down through Facebook or through Twitter and just bug them until they let me give them money, which is kind of dumb. But if you head over to our Kickstarter page, um, we have you'll see whether we've actually set up a PayPal, where you can PayPal page on our own website with a link on our Kickstarter page that allows you to continue supporting the campaign even after it's done. So we basically said, look, we're going to continue heading towards the stretch goals and everything, even after the campaign's ended. Cool. Yeah, thanks for the question. That was an awesome question. Other questions, please? No problem. Yeah, and we definitely, I mean, if any of you folks out there are new to Epic Tavern, I'd love to hear your feedback on that as well. Come join our forums. We're always on Twitch, live streaming development. Everybody at the studio is really friendly. We really go out of our way to pick people that are that are actually nice people. So it's cool to interact with them. And it'd be great to have your feedback on the game. Oh yeah, and another thing, before I go on to answering Jesse's next question, is I think one of the things we wanted to do with our Kickstarter too is basically, like I said, it was a debutante ball for the game. Our goal is to get people involved in the game because it's gonna be a big game, but ultimately we want it to be a game that y'all want to play. And in order for us to be 100% sure we're hitting that, um, uh, we want to make sure that you guys are involved in the actual development and helping us, direct which way our energies are being spent. Okay, so Jesse Collins says, What are the best methods for running a Kickstarter graphically? What are mandatory things in your opinion? We used a lot of GIFs. Your the first thing that anybody's gonna see on your page is your video. Okay, cool. I'll try. I'm getting a picture taken of me for social media while I'm doing this event. I'm gonna try not to look as fat as possible. So I failed, by the way. So yeah. So basically, the first thing that people are going to see is your player, um, your video player, and what you can do is you can put a cover image on that. I mean, there was a lot of 2D work that was put into this. We captured a lot of gameplay footage, and our artists turned those into to GIFs, animated GIFs. I think that's super important to have, animated GIFs on your page that kind of indicate to people what your gameplay is going to be like. We had static screens that also kind of, we try to pick those so that they would deliver kind of the character of the game. Having uh, having the tiers and kind of the roadmap for the stretch goals. I think it was, doing that in a neat way. It was good. Having kind of the artists set up, we had the social media goals, which were a lot of fun, and we had the artists set those up in such a way that we don't have to keep bugging them after that thing was made. Whoever's actually working on, full time on the campaign can update those as we achieve those goals. I mean, I think that was a good thing. So let's see. Hopefully that answered your question. But yeah, definitely get something that is, eye catching. Remember, it's an advertisement. So make sure that you're doing your best to put your best foot forward for your game or your project. Sarok says, on which engine did we build the tavern? We're using Unity for our game. We're using Unity, the combination of Maya to build the 3D assets, We're using a logarithmic substance to generate a lot of our maps. We are using a Kitsu to help with the animation stuff and rigging, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. You can come see us work in all those tools on our live casts on Twitch. We are twitch.com, and then it's just Epic Tavern, right, guys? Jack? Correct. Yeah, it's just Epic Tavern. So come and join us, follow us, favorite us. We love it. Okay, so Mr. Econo said, question is thought of question. Okay, cool. What are some good things to put down as rewards for different price points? Oh man, that is like that's a oh yeah, that's actually a really tough question, and I would say that's a nearly impossible question for me to answer in specific for each individual person, because it is a very individual thing. For us, what we try to do is we try to obviously put things that were, start off with a very base of like, okay, we give you the game, and then we try to start adding value with each individual tier above that. We try to make the psychology of it is that basically you want to have a tier that people will come in at, and they go, oh, you know what, I'm really interested in this game. Let me see if I can support it and see if I can get the game. Oh man, but if I only spend a little bit more money, then I can get this, this other thing. Like I can get a cloth map of the game, or I can get, I can get my name in the credits, or I can get some sort of T-shirt, or for us we had mugs, which were really awesome as well. We had, we revealed the designs of these things throughout the project, to keep people interested as well. We went up to stuff like, okay, we will actually buy you a lord or ladyship, and then we actually added the mugs and the T-shirts on as items that you could purchase. Hashtag for the mug, perfect. We actually added these things, put these things as add-ons that people could buy after the project as well, if they weren't able to afford, the tiers that they were at. Does that answer your question, Mr. Econo? I think it's very different for each individual's project, but I think the method that you want to, you want to think the general method is one that can be applied in many different situations. Also, a thing that worked really well for us were the early bird tiers, where we offered a limp for like kind of a limited time or a limited number of buy-ins at that particular tier. We offered uh, a discount on that tier, and we actually should have done that more, in my opinion. My initial reaction was, well, we want to actually be seen as having sold out of things to make us look more desirable. But honestly, if I had it to do over again, I probably would have pushed that maybe to double of what we had. Or add an entire tier, or second early bird, third early bird. Exactly, or brought in more early bird tiers as as time went on. But you have to be careful of that stuff, because you don't want to give something that has already been given for less once people have bought into the higher price point. So you have to, yeah, you have to. You don't, as our lead programmer Memage says, do not devalue your tiers, because it will only lead to tears and suffering and hatred. Okay, so Jesse asks, would you say a playable demo is necessary during the Kickstarter? I would say no, because we didn't have one, and we did all right. And I would say that most games don't have a playable demo during their Kickstarter. It would have been really nice for us to have one because of press reasons. I think it would have been easier for us to get press, or maybe not. I mean, we just didn't do it because we were afraid people wouldn't talk to us because we didn't have playable demo. But there it is. And the next question: were the physical rewards or digital rewards more purchased in our Kickstarter digital rewards? But I think that's mostly because of the fact that we actually limited the physical rewards, because we were a little bit worried about how much of a chunk they would take out of how complicated shipping would get, which turns out to be a largely unfounded reward, because if you use stuff like backer kit, combined with fulfillment agencies, it pretty much takes all the guesswork out of doing your physical rewards. So basically, back in the day, I think that would have been a well-founded fear, but nowadays that is something that there are plenty of services set up that can help you out with that stuff, and for pretty reasonable. I mean, Sarah, would you say that the amount of money that we're going to spend on fulfillment and like backer kit stuff is pretty reasonable?
Very reasonable.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I can.
Rewards, we'd be pulling in a lot less money.
I would say yeah. I mean, if all Tomo says if all of them are physical rewards, we've been pulling in a lot less money. I would say generally yes, but there are ways that you can compensate for that. But then again, that pushes the price up, which makes it less attainable for your average individual. So don't be totally afraid of putting physical rewards into your higher tiers, as long as you're smart enough to work with fulfillment companies and with backer kit. What is Raijin? Asks me. Raijin Candy Truck, which makes me kind of scared. Asks, is that a van or is that a truck, Raijin? Let's see. Candy van. My fears are well founded. Bye, Tomo. So Regine asks, "What is that truck? That van isn't being driven by a bear, is it?" Regine asks, he says no. Regine asks, "What is my favorite color?" My favorite color is green because it kind of matches my my eyes a little bit. And Jesse says, "Depends on if you're in San Francisco." Oh, it's a self-driving candy van, the best kind. It's the Google Candy Van. Xerox Xerox says, "So you said that you're using Unity. Why have you not chosen another engine such as Unreal Engine 4?" For us as a company, we have a ton of experience using Unity. I've been using it for how long now, Memage? Like a billion years? Maybe 2 billion? Since like a 2009 Tesla Candy Van, self-driving Tesla Candy Van Uber. Been using Unity for like 9 years. I actually used to teach Unreal Engine back in the day when I was at Treyarch. I had an associate, I guess, adjunct professor gig over at Art Institute because I kind of wanted to give back to the community, and Art Institute Santa Monica, and I was teaching Unreal. So, but everybody here had a whole bunch more experience in Unity, and when the company started up, or when we started working on the project, there was a lot more. The asset store was a whole lot more fleshed out than the Unreal Marketplace. So, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of advantages to using it. Yeah. So, and we aren't going for a super high end, graphically intensive game. So we didn't think Unreal would necessarily be the best choice for what it was that we were trying to do. But yeah, great question. Ski says you should partner with at Punches Bears. Every game needs procedurally dancing low poly bears, and accompanied by procedurally dancing low poly maiden fairs, or maiden's fair, would you say? Tesla Candy Van. Yes, we already saw that. Rhea says, question, how big is your team? How many coders, artists, management, animators, any sound effects? Okay, so, oh yeah, there's something I totally forgot to mention that's really neat about the game. Our team is about 11 people, 11 people big. 10, I think actually 10 at the moment. We are, let's see, one, two, kind of technically me, three kind of ish production management. It should be noted that everybody on the production management team wears many hats. So, for instance, I will program from time to time. Sarah will write from time to time. Dave will give everybody shots from time to time. Uh, then we have two fully dedicated programmers. Actually, one of them does project management stuff as well. Then we have a designer who does also programming as well. We have another fully dedicated designer writer, and 3 artists. One of which that is dedicated to 2D, and the other 2 that are dedicated. Well, one that's dedicated fully to 3D and animation and rigging, and another one who is dedicated, or actually is a generalist and lead artist / art director. We're going to enlist the help of one of our good buddies to do sound effects and for us, and another one to do some art special effects. And we have, which is really awesome and makes me super psyched, we have as the composer of our game this guy named Neil Acree, who actually did the music for Overwatch. Or wait, is it Overwatch? Yeah, he did the music for Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, and StarCraft 2, amongst other things. He's a super 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 nice, super awesome guy. He's very very psyched to do the music for the game, and man, you guys should hear it. We've got some initial stuff back from him that's just great. You can hear some of his stuff in the trailer as well. Um, so yes, Rhea says clarification. Smaller studios usually outsource some of it, especially sounds. Hence why any sound effects, yeah, sounds like my former studio. Yeah, we've got a bunch of buddies. Sound effects is like they are the hardest hustling people in the entire industry. You would not believe, like, once you get a Kickstarter going, you will get a bunch of people looking for work. Most of them voice actors and sound effects people. So Saberstar asks an amazing question. Saberstar153, was there something that you ever stressed out about, but in reality it probably wasn't that bad? And I would say pretty much every single little detail about the Kickstarter was something that we really stressed out about. In reality, we could have like actually taken it a little bit easier. Just little things like, hey, should we do the phrasing of this particular sentence this particular way? Should we, have this tier be on top of this tier that one? I mean, all those things probably made a difference, but I think at the end of the day, especially if your game concept is really fantastic, like, it's something, all those things are going to make, marginal differences, aren't going to completely kill your game. I mean, unless you do a really big mess up, like going, hey, there's no way we are ever going to do DRM free because, or you don't do your updates to your project, or, there's a lot of ways you can totally kill your project, but most of the stuff you stress out about isn't really that bad in the end. That's why I have a philosophy. I call it fuck up fast. What you want to do is get to the point where you've made a bad decision, you've seen that it's a bad decision, and then you go back and you fix it. You want to get there as soon as possible. Don't be scared of fucking up, because every mistake you make is a potential learning opportunity. If you do it quickly enough, you can learn and redo it. So, okay. Let's see. Good one. Jesse says he's got a question. You had some stretch goals, one involving Rebecca, who is also speaking this week with us. Are there any stretch goals that you guys may try to push through, even though you didn't hit the goal? Yeah, I would really love to get to the elves stretch goal, where we add elves as a playable / recruitable race. I mean, you're not really playing them, but you can recruit them as characters, come into your tavern or whatever. I'd really love to see those elves get into the game. It'll probably come at some actual dollar cost to the studio to be able to do that. Um, ah, good one, Mr. Akino. um, yeah, we'll get back to you. It's some stretch goals on Rebecca. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we want to push through that stretch goal. I think that would be great. I would really love to get the Max and Linux port stretch goal. Um, uh, I think everything that we had laid out for stretch goals is great, and obviously I'd be tickled pink if we could get through all those stretch goals. Skay asks another good question, which is, how did you assemble your team? Did you directly hire them to work on the game, or were you friends, acquaintances beforehand, like many indie teams start? Vast majority of people on the team we knew beforehand, and there's a couple people like Jack, who's one of our programmers, we didn't know beforehand. Ended up being a person who is a great fit for the studio, and I'm proud to call him a friend. And he's also sitting across from me, and he's about 1.5 times as big as I am, so I have to say nice things. Smart move. Let's see. I'm trying to think who else we didn't know. Kate is also a fantastic addition to our group. We didn't know her. She's an unbelievable 2D artist, and we picked her up. She's also certifiably insane, which is a great fit for Hyperkinetic Studios. We got her off the street.
She was selling prints, dark corner.
Yeah, she was selling prints on dark corners, not Prince the symbol, Prince the actual art print. Kate just got a nifty tattoo. It's really cool looking. I wish I could show it to you guys. It's a wolf. It's like a tribal. It's like what's it? How would you describe your tattoo?
Yeah, I kind of think about Okami, and it's running down my arm. It's like a medium size.
Okami wolf running down her forearm, and it's medium size. It's pretty badass.
The artist is Natalie Hall.
The artist is Natalie Hall, if anybody's interested. Let's see. How did you assemble your team? You worked. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of acquaintances and friends. It's always better to work with people that that you can trust, and that are going to be super passionate about and dedicated to the team and to the game. And they're already nice. Making games is a very intensely intimate affair. So, let's see. How much money you pay monthly artists to do their job? If that question is not comfortable for you, you may not answer. I mean, it varies. It really depends on who we're talking about. It's all over the board. One goal that we have for our company is to basically make it so everybody makes the same thing, because in my mind, anybody messes up, doesn't give their 100% to the game is going to suffer. Doesn't matter if it's a tester or not. So one of our goals for the company is to make it so everybody's making the same thing. We're all a team. I think we should all split our success, share in our success, and share in our defeat. But in that way, we're all pulling for the success and trying to do everything we can to avoid defeat. Mr. Aikano, yeah, you can come back and hear the thing later on. Basically, to summarize, I would say that good things to put down for rewards price points is extremely difficult to say. You have to really, make sure that you customize that for your project. Keep in mind the psychology is you want people to come in, look at buying the base game and go, oh, but this looks neat. Oh, but this looks neat. Oh, but this looks neat, and get them to put in as much as they possibly can. Let's see. Rhea says, yeah, it's a longish answer. Skay says, hey kid, you want to buy some lines? Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but the answer is yes. Let's see. Jesse Chime Collins says, take a pic. We will take a pic of her tattoo. We will post it on the Hyperkinetic, on the Epic Tavern Facebook. So yeah, go over to Facebook, friend us, follow us on Twitch, favorite us on Twitch, follow us on Twitter. We do a lot of stuff. Would you like to buy a death stick? Again, yes. Skay says, I love death sticks. How is Mac Linux a stretch goal? Isn't it just clicking export to Mac button in Unity? Yep, that's all it is. No, it is definitely not. I mean, it's just if you're, there are a whole bunch of different Mac computers, and if you're a pro game company, what you're doing is you are testing out on each one of those rigs. You are making sure that everything works. If you're using plugins, not all those plugins are necessarily written for the Mac. yeah, I wish it was that simple, because then my life would be a lot better and easier. Rhea is absolutely correct. Nope, multi-platform is not so simple. Skate, maybe it's because I've only made relatively small games. Yes, that is probably what's going on. Let's see. It's down how complex project is. Okay. Next question. Anybody's got more questions? Are you guys thinking about doing a Kickstarter? Who in here is thinking about doing a Kickstarter? And oh, by the way, put down put down what you do for a living as well. Jack's thinking about doing a Kickstarter. Wait. Rhea says, "Are you hiring, Richie B?" Unfortunately, we are not at the moment, but we are as the name indicates, we are a hyper dynamic company and a hyper fast company. So we might at some point. Rhea says, "Here's my resume: Angry Birds stuff, World of Tanks. What are those? I've never heard those games." That's pretty awesome. Ray? Are you an artist? Oh, coder. Nice. Yeah, I mean, send over your resume. We never turn down a resume. You can go to hyperkineticstudios.com and see our website. Ski says, "My resume is basically 3 games with squares for graphics and like 2 levels. That's not bad. It's like infinitely more than most of the population." Saratosi says, "Can I be a janitor?" The answer is, once we get the money to pay you. Zarok says, "I had no resume." You should get one. They're very useful. Resumes key. And even more key is a bunch of games that you've made and worked on. Regine says, "As long as I'm paid in hashtag Hot Pockets, I'll do anything." Anything? Anything? Yes, you are the type of person who has the self-driving Tesla candy van, so I believe you. Oh, man. Hot Pockets is officially a running joke for Pudge C. I like Pudge C. That's a great name. Pudge C. It's hashtag it's not my fault. All right, questions. We got 15 minutes. Doesn't have to necessarily be about the it doesn't necessarily have to be the I'm the CEO of Hot Pockets, says Rygene. That's good. I'm the CEO of Hot Pants. Oh. So yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be about your questions. Don't necessarily have to be about Kickstarter. They can be about the game. They can be about my career. They can be about advice. Oh, that's a good one. Insanity Wolf. Tell us about Epic Tavern more. Oh, jeez. Okay, we got 2 really good questions now. We got tell us about Epic Tavern more and what is a good resume. A good resume is that's a tough thing. Something that shows that you have a resume that shows that you have experience. Oh yeah, let me give you some links to our stuff too. Okay. Itch.io profile be a good resume. I mean, I'd cover all your bases, man. I definitely have. Yeah, accomplishments are the most important thing. But yeah, you should have a paper resume. You should have. Do I have any more girls on our team? Yes, the person who put together our PR campaign is a girl. Her name is Ellie Moore. She did an awesome job. We have um, Sarah Blandy, who is our kind of Swiss Army knife right now. She's a associate producer, but she's doing writing. She does all sorts of super cool stuff for us. She handles some PR stuff as well. Kate, as we said, is a 2D artist. Gabby is our 3D artist and animator. And let's see who else. I feel like I'm missing a girl. We have a friend of ours, Olivia, who we run ideas off of from time to time. I totally feel like I'm missing a girl. Oh, Eric has long hair, but that's not something that's 100% linked to girls. Guys, come on, give a hard time. Oh, Devin, our intern. That's who I was missing. So Devin is a coding intern, and she's totally awesome. No, we are like fully almost. We're like almost half and half, which is great. I mean, that's something that we really believe in. My wife always goes, "No, don't be prejudiced, for women or against women or whatever." I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like I think that games really benefit from having a female perspective on them. A well-rounded perspective, I would say. So we try to get as many different types of people in here as we possibly can. Rebecca is going to be doing a quest for us, and if you haven't looked her up, you should. She's totally awesome. Look her up on Wikipedia. She's done a tremendous amount of stuff in the industry, and she has a really cool and interesting background. So let's see. Aw. Let's see. We did a Twitch. We did our Twitch thing. We need to have our Twitter link. Epic Tavern. Let's see. So Epic Tavern, yeah, it's something we're super duper psyched about. Let me give you the Kickstarter for Epic Tavern as well. Yeah, if any of you guys are guys and gals are interested in jumping on and supporting the game, that'd be fantastic. You can still do it, like I said before. Let's see. I'm going to be in trouble with Devin now. When is there a time when I haven't been in trouble with Devin? All right, let's see. I like to sing songs and try to become a true gamer. Yes, that's a great idea. So in terms of your resume, yeah, just get have a paper one. Get your stuff out there on sites. Itch.io, totally fine too. If you have no experience, get experience. There's nothing Sir Toasty right now that is preventing you from getting experience other than the fact that you haven't actually gone out there and done so. All these tool sets are free. There are a billion tutorials on YouTube. There are people all over the place who are willing to help out people who are interested in getting into games, but you gotta do it yourself. You have to take those first steps yourself. Nobody wants to hear, how do I do this nowadays? Because honestly, I mean, there's a billion things to do, and if you're not already doing it, or you're going, somebody help me, what's the magic bullet? That's not necessarily the type of person that you're going to want to have on your team. Already answered the girls' question. Raijin says, are they hot? Of course. Rhea says, yeah. All the guys are hot too. Just, you guys should know. Especially Jack, because like I told you, he's sitting right across from me. Yeah.
Pretty crazy, but fucking.
Memage says that he was recently told he was like Stephen Colbert, pretty crazy but fucking sexy. So far I've been in studios that were full male and I was kind of lonely. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. You definitely want somebody around who at least you can see that you can share perspective with them. Which tutorials do you recommend? That is actually a really great. That's a really great question. I really liked one. There was one that I did recently that was kind of like a combination of everything tutorial, and I searched for it by doing like Crossy Road Unity tutorial. And it was like this person with a really nice penguin design. Yes, there they are. There they are. Okay, Unity 5, how to make a game, Crossy Road, March 20, March 13, March. Okay. All right. Here, let me actually paste this link in here for you. I just love the voice of this. I actually haven't figured out if it's a dude or a girl. It's just no matter what it is, it's awesome. It's like this Australian voice, so it's really cool. Let's see. Yeah. So other questions? I just really like that tutorial. I went through the whole thing. It was really neat. I think it brings you through a lot of not only Unity stuff, but through Maya, so you can touch on a little bit of everything. Nothing's too difficult. They do a really great job of explaining why they're doing things. Their voice is very cool to listen to. Not super crazy about the music they have in the background, but I think it's a great way to get exposed to all the kind of art tools, to the development tools, to the coding tools and everything like that. So if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you don't know what you'd want to do, but you just know that you're going to be on games, that's a pretty cool place to start, in my opinion. Let's see. What else have I heard about Fiverr? Nope. How many issues have you had with Unity? I've been asked. Small issues, large issues. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Memage asks, do you mean Skay over the years that we've been using it, which are about like 8 or 9 at this point, or actually no, more like 6 probably at this point, 6 or 7, over the years, or just on this project in particular? Oh, so Fiverr is like some kind of like uh, do my stuff marketplace. I will shoot a video to promote your product. Huh, that's interesting. I'll look through that. I have a feeling I'd be wasting a lot of money if I used it. But have you used it, Zerok? Have you used Fiverr? In general is the question. How many issues have you had with Unity? I think how many is like. I mean, we couldn't really pinpoint that, obviously, but I mean, there've been issues with it, but man, I mean, this is a thing. Nothing we can't get past. And if you have ever used an engine that has been written by somebody on the team that you work for, or it is an order of magnitude higher frustration level to use an in-house engine than it is to use something like Unity or Unreal. I know that Unreal definitely has its own frustrations. I would say they're probably going to be on the same level as Unity, but honestly, I think Unity has an advantage in that it is used by so many people. There's been like, I think total, especially in recent years, there's been I'd say the last 4 years, there's been a grand total of like one fucking problem that I've had where I can't just go online and say, type into Google my Unity C# and whatever my problem is, and somebody hasn't already faced and found the way to fix that problem, or they'll tell you there is no way to fix it. Sorry, you're in trouble. Um, so yeah, I mean I would highly recommend it. Uh, Jesse Collins says, my last question is about the game itself. How do you guys agree on the look and aesthetic for the game? Basically, that is mostly up to our art director, Remy Benoist, who's a super cool guy. He's been making games for about 25 years. He's a French dude, and he went to a super fancy French school for art called Gobelin, Gobelins. You should look it up. It is awesome. Um, and he more or less kind of came up with a look and aesthetic, runs it by us. Everybody agrees that that's a great way to go. And given what our target demographic is and what we like personally, so yeah, it's That's how we did it. Have you had to deal with piracy? How would you handle it? I would typically do what most major cruise lines do and get a gigantic speaker and play really annoying sounds at the pirates as they attempt to close with and board your vessel. I would make sure that the hull of my vessel also was sufficiently thick enough to deflect small arms fire and possibly shoulder launched rocket propelled grenades, which are weapons that pirates typically use. I hope that answers your question. Raijin says, is it like this engine? Let's see. It's a GIF. Oh god. No, I mean, Unity is, yeah, but if you're using your own in-house engine, even the one we were using at Treyarch back in the day was like that, except for everything's falling apart, and the souls of developers are getting ground up in the middle of it. No, but to seriously answer Sir Toasty's question, have you had to deal with piracy? Yes, everybody has. How do you handle it? Mostly, we do not worry too much about it. We most of the people who pirate your game are people that aren't going to be buying your game anyway. So, as long as people get exposure to it, they get to play it. If they can't afford it for whatever reason, they, obviously we're not going to be just like going, hey, everybody, here's a DRM free copy of our game right off the bat before we even, have had a chance to make any money off of it and feed the mouths of, all the people who are actually working on the game. But after we've done that, then we will probably open up to more DRM stuff. But yeah, I mean, generally, if people are going to pirate the game, you're not going to be able to stop them. And putting a whole bunch of energy into that is probably not a wise use of your energy. It's probably better that you go ahead and take that energy and put it into actually making the game better. Skay says you should add anti-piracy to your game that makes the game work normally, except like 3 hours in, your tavern gets invaded by pirates. They insta-kill you and make the game unwinnable just to mess with them. All right, it's going in the game. I love it. I love it when they add anti-piracy memes to a game. The memes are the best. Those are amazing. Love it when the devs troll pirates. Potatoes. Game Dev Tycoon did something similar. Released a troll version of the game to torrent sites on release. That's hilarious. What did they do? What happened in Game Dev Tycoon troll game? It must have been amazing.